We have been working with the best lawyers in the industry, the best lawyers on this planet that specialize in this field, and none of them can believe that we've been declined again. Unfortunately, we got the bad—
Oh my god. Oh, so they're just completely Oh, I get whatever he says and whatever his lawyers say are gonna be way out qualifying whatever I say. I'm just guessing here. But so it sounds like
she initiated the divorce and legal documents.
I think she's entitled to nothing during this.
Just as a quick thing, whoever— okay. Oh, trigger me. Okay. There's like several layers to how dumb this comment was, okay?
But I do think it's crazy that I'm about to be 34 and I have no family.
What is this?
Nutshell, our esports team, MoistCritikal, has one of the best Apex rosters in the world right now. We're second place in NA, and we're in a really good position to win the major. But the major is happening on US soil, and the red-blooded patriots at US Immigration refuse to let our team come in. Our team is Australian. So we were initially declined and had to pivot, get them to Canada.
Oh, little bro, try to go through US Immigration. Big mistake. Sneak those guys in at the border. Dude, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Getting in the United States is it is so hard compared to like every other country on the planet. I don't know why. It is so hard. Like through security, through fucking immigration, through visa shit, all of it is so ungodly complicated, convoluted, stupid, time-consuming,
so they could
random, sporadic.
Compete in NA this split, and we resubmitted, and our resubmission has just been declined again for legitimately no real reason, because the glue-eating, crack-smoking, coke-snorting, lobotomite morons at US Immigration just don't want them in the country for whatever reason they're drumming up here. We have been working with the best lawyers in the industry, the best lawyers on this planet that specialize in this field, and none of them can believe that we've been declined again. They've never had these issues before, so they're as stunned as we are. We even have one of the highest level executives at EA going to bat for us with US Immigration, lobbying for us to try and get our team in here because our team is very important to the esport because we are so highly ranked. And even with the goddamn Avengers on our side, US Immigration slams the door in our face and turns us away like it's a lacrosse house party in college. They're Australian gamers. We're not trying to sneak in f***ing Viltrumite aliens. What is the issue? Gadzooks, I would hate to meet our US Immigration agent in real life. It'd be like meeting Voldemort. It'd be like meeting Scrooge. Like an absolute joyless f***ing husk of like a zombie. It can't even be a real soul. There's no way there's a human being that's handling our case. It's not possible. Because there is no reason we would keep being declined. They're not even giving us reasons that make any sense at all. Not to us, not to the lawyers, not to anybody. Nobody. And no other esports team has had this problem. Every other org—
Visas for esports pros is always tough. People in the Dota scene complain about it literally all the time. Sounds like this is his first time dealing with it, yeah.
that has international players got in lickety-split. They're fucking speed ran. Meanwhile, we can't. We literally can't. I'm convinced that if Jesus Christ resurrected right now, US Immigration would turn him away. He wouldn't be allowed in here. We'd never see him. Now let me slow down real quick, because maybe you guys aren't understanding why this is such a big deal. Our team is one of the best in the world. And this major is huge. It's massive. And obviously, we're very passionate about this game and this esport. So they need to get into the country to play in this major, because it's an in-person land. They can't compete from Canada. It's happening in America, the home of the cheeseburger and the Budweiser. It's happening here. So they need to be here physically to compete in it. No holograms, no force ghosts, no AI, duplicate, replicants, nothing. It's got to be them, flesh and blood, which is off the table now. I think a lot of people had a bit of—
Why wouldn't they book a normal ticket like a tourist? I think technically, if you're talking about like the ESTA visa waiver, one, I don't know how long he wants them to be here for. If it's because that's 90 days. And two, if you're here on a visa waiver, I don't think you're supposed to work or do stuff like that. So you could technically get f***ed. If you're on a big org like this, you probably want to do everything like by the book, you know?
Apex Boys, our team, has been in America before. We've even made videos together with them at our warehouse. But there's a difference, because they were only here for like 2 weeks. I think it was even less than 2 weeks. And then the major was overseas. So they weren't here for a long time. This time around, we needed a different process because they were going to play the whole split in NA. So it needed to go through an entirely different procedure to allow them to stay here for that period. And since we keep getting declined, they are now no longer allowed to just come here temporarily. All of that's halted because they're under our MoistCritikal blanket. Now they can't come here just for like that 2 weeks or anything. It's totally different. It's all changed, which is why we had to work with so many lawyers to try and get this process moving. And we just kept getting declined. So now they can't come into the country for this major. They couldn't even show up on the day to compete. Plus, they wouldn't want to do that anyway because they want time to practice, obviously. So that leaves us with only one fucking option left, and that's to cut our team. We have to release one of the best teams in the entire Apex circuit. because that's the only way they're going to be allowed in the country. They can come here as long as they're not being represented by us. As long as they are not represented by any org right now, they can come here and compete. So that's our only option, because we obviously want the best for these guys. We want them to shine at the major. So in order to do that, we have to let them go. It's like that scene in Pokemon when Ash sets down the Pikachu and runs away crying. That's us. That is literally what we have to do with our team right now. We have to cut them so that way they can compete at the major, because we're out of time. We can't resubmit again because this process is abominably fucking slow. Weeks just to get 2 sentences back from the U.S. immigration dinosaurs, the fossils that are just bones and dust in those chairs at the agency there. Like, we can't do this again because we don't have time. The major's right around the corner. So we are officially releasing the Moist Apex squad. Unfortunately, we got the bad
Oh my god. Oh, so they're just completely
ending to this playthrough here. And it's no fault of our own, by the way. We did everything by the books. We worked with other orgs too, and so many different lawyers that specialize in this. And we did everything right, and still got slapped by U.S. immigration raid bosses. Ridiculous. So I actually cooked up a theory. One that a couple of lawyers actually agreed with me on as the most likely culprit for why we kept getting declined and are still currently rejected. Our name. I hypothesized this in the last video I made, but I wasn't entirely
Wait, what's the name?
until now. The name Moist Esports may have had a role in us being
No,
rejected. May
really?
be the only reason we were rejected. At U.S. immigration, it all falls onto your particular agent. It is entirely their discretion whether or not you are allowed entry into the country with whatever you're submitting and whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
You have an individual agent that handles your case. It is highly possible, and according to some lawyers, not unusual, for them to decline things based on very trivial reasoning. And they never conveyed that the name was an issue to us, by the way. That would be something that's so petty that they probably would never put it in writing because it's f***ing embarrassing and shameful. But it is
Well, I feel like if the name was an issue, I feel like they would say that, right? No?
possible that the name Moist is the reason why. Because moist is a word that is a little yucky to people, makes them feel a little icky. So whoever was handling our case maybe just really didn't like that word, didn't take us seriously, and said, nope, we won't be dealing with them. Fuck them. And I think that's the most likely possible explanation for this at the moment. Because there's nothing else. There is actually nothing else that could have possibly gone awry in this process on our end. I hope the ghoulish heathen in charge of our case is proud of themselves for this. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just yanking your chain. The only thing I hope for the urinal cake that handled this case is that they get fired. That is the only solace I will find here, is if I learn that at some point whoever took this case is let go from U.S. immigration because the country would be much better for it. I think they are so bad at their job that it borders on being criminal. Like, they should be charged with treason for how poorly they've handled this case. 6 months. 6 months of work. Well, a little less than 6 months. And never once did they give us a real reason for
6 months. I feel like that could literally be like 4 back and forths because of how fucking long and delayed every fucking thing from, is it U.S. immigrations, USIC, what is it called? U.S. Immigration Office. I should remember this. USCIS, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. This shit.
why we were declined. The reasons they gave us were nonsensical, and when we were inquired for more information to rectify those problems, we submitted above and beyond the requirements, and still got declined numerous times.
Don't they give you a reason for being declined? I'm curious if I don't know what it looks like, because they would give you, when they say something like you have to change this or whatever. I wonder if did they ever publish any of the documents or show any of the documents they got sent?
I think this whole experience should be pretty eye-opening to a lot of people out there, to the blatant corruption in U.S. immigration. Like, this is so bad that it's almost comical. Like, if it wasn't so incredibly detrimental to our organization, I would probably find it laughable. Like, that's how awful, horrible it is, and how bad of a state U.S. immigration is in. Like, just take a step back and really analyze this. The best lawyers in the world that specialize in this field in particular were unsuccessful in getting squeaky clean Australian gamers into the country, even when the game they're competing in has the highest level executives saying to U.S. immigration, no, they need to be here, they should be here. All of these extremely powerful parts working together to try and get them into the country, and they couldn't do it multiple times. Now imagine that for someone normal. Just normal, average Joes trying to get into the country and they have to deal with U.S. immigration. What f***ing hope is there? What chance do you have? That's gonna be like a 20-year process bare minimum. That's inexcusably awful. What a broken f***ing machine. The ice cream machines at McDonald's work better than the U.S. immigration process. It's so f***ing stupid. I'm actually getting a full-blown Porky Pig Scatman right now. I'm getting so heated. Like, it's an insult to the word stupid. Moonfall, Madam Web, The Room, that's stupid. This, it's on a whole new level. It's in a different dimension, the fucking 6th dimension of stupidity.
This really sucks. That said, Destiny, isn't it possible that immigration is insanely slow because of how insanely overwhelmed the agency is at the moment with what normal people would likely see as more important than an esports team? Firstly, esports stuff, I imagine, would be probably some of the most important. It would be some of the best stuff you would want in this country. It's people that aren't going to consume any resources, no wealth or anything like that. It's people who are only going to be here temporarily. It's people that are a boon to the economic activity. It's usually people like exceptional talent or whatever. So this would be like, and it's also incredibly low proclivity for like criminal activity and shit like that. I imagine these would be like the best types of visas that you'd want to issue. So my guess would be that these would be the things that would be, I wouldn't say expedited, but like pretty quickly and expeditiously worked on, like more than anything else. Like,
it's a whole new ballgame. Like the fucking poop farter that handled our case. It's giving me a headache. I'm actually going caveman braid. I'm becoming Cro-Magnon man right now. called him a fart pooper or whatever. Like, I'm running out of words in the English language to express the frustration at how incompetent this whole process has been on their end. So yeah, anyway, we had.
It would be hilarious if it was somebody who like was fans of the like opposing Apex teams. That's the agent.
Apex team. They will still be competing at the major, God willing, unless the immigration agent himself turns up and puts the kibosh on it himself, forms like a brick wall of meat and won't let them pass, physically imposing himself on them. But anything shy of that, the boys will be on American soil competing at the major, but they are no longer our team. We had to cut them in order for that to happen. We will, of course, still be cheering for them. We, of course, still want them to win.
The Connor boy gave me
I
this
have had it
link.
up to here with U.S. immigration. I want there to be no confusion. I think the U.S. immigration process is a laughable, pathetic joke. In fact, it's not laughable because I'm not giggling. You don't see me spitting up with a smile on my face
about 4
to my
minutes
feet in my
in.
high chair. It is terrible. The word moist, that's probably a very real possibility, but they've asked us to submit even more evidence and even more clarification.
Oh, hold on.
All we could do was really speculate and resubmit, which we did. And now all we knew is this sometimes happens in the esports scene. My little tin then Robert De Niro and the Irishman. It is fucking disgraceful how awful the optimization is for this process. So all we could do was get them to Canada so they could still play this split here in NA like we had planned on. And while they're doing that, we're still trying to get them to the US. Now, initially we didn't really understand why they were declined. All we knew is this sometimes happens in the esports scene. My little tinfoil hat theory was that the agent was afraid of Waltzy. Waltzy is one of our players, one of the best in the world, and he also happens to be a powerlifter. So perhaps they were just worried that he'd pose a national security risk for being too strong, that he'd go around snapping Americans in half. All we could do was really speculate and resubmit, which we did. And now we've received a response from the resubmission forms, and after going through everything with lawyers and making sure it is as buttoned up as possible with all of the best in the industry, I'm happy to say we are still fucking struggling because the agent is a geriatric fossil that is absolutely just out for some kind of vendetta. I think they might just hate the word moist. That's probably a very real possibility. But they've asked us to submit even more evidence and even more clarification on things, which ordinarily I would have no problem with. But we've already done this once. We did the song and dance last time, only to get rejected many weeks after doing that. This isn't a fast process. If it was fast, I wouldn't care. Be like, oh, okay, you need more papers, more documents, more clarification. Fine, we can provide all of that tomorrow, and hopefully hear from you in the next day or two. That's not how it works. Because after we do submit all of those, further appeals,
It's like a month or two.
It takes weeks,
Or a
weeks
week,
for them
okay.
to respond, and they barely fucking look at what you submit. I feel in the last video I mentioned that our agent didn't believe us that we were placing so high, and they didn't bother to look into it at all. Well, that is another thing that is a fucking problem because they still don't believe our placements. Our team crushes it at the majors, and we were number 12 at the World Championship. And one of the things they need clarification on is why they should believe us that those placements are real or important. You rat bastard! What do you mean? We are submitting the official standings, the official placements for these majors and the World Championship. What do you mean you don't trust that? What? Actually, I wasn't there, so I didn't see it. I can't. This must be a fucking lie. Fly yourself out to the next major and watch us then. Like, what do you mean?
I wonder what. I don't think these our visas that we looked at for the immigration research stuff. Those were for immigrant visas, right? So nothing here is going to be about like athletes or anything. I wonder what temporary visas they were going for. P visas are for athletes, entertainers, and skilled performers. These are for temporary work. Because if you try to do like an athlete visa, but you're doing it for like esports, and there's not like internationally recognized leagues that have the same official standing as like the, I don't know, the fucking World Cup or like the NFL or whatever, I imagine it might be a lot harder to prove that you ought to get that visa. But I have no idea what visa they're going for. I don't know.
It's crazy how they can just pull that out of their ass. Like, oh, why should we believe the official standings? Ridiculous. You thought you could pull fast one on U.S. immigration? No, sir. It's so stupid. It's so fucking stupid. But that's not the one I want to get hung up on. I'm actually going to just read this to you verbatim. I'm not going to show you it because that might be a legal issue. But I absolutely just have to put this out here. I feel like I'm in the Louis dimension reading this shit. I am convinced that there's not a human being on the other side of this conversation. I believe that our lawyers have been contacted and communicating with Cleverbot, who is for some reason representing the U.S. Immigration Services. It is so outrageously...
They literally had EA execs vouch for them. Yeah, but I'm saying it depends on the type of visa they're getting, right? Because let's say they're doing one of these athlete visas. Would an EA exec matter? Is that like an athletic competition or like...
Dumb. So you're going to need a little context behind this before getting into it. So when bringing the team to the land of the free, home of the brave, we were instructed to have a high-ranking EA official kind of glaze us to help convey to the U.S. Immigration Services that our team is internationally significant to this scene. Now, when it comes to getting teams over here, this is what every esports org has to do. They have to convince the immigration services that their team is highly competitive, a top team that is worthy to come over here and start bleeding cheeseburgers like a true red-blooded American. So that's what we were doing, and we had a high-ranking EA individual kind of talking on our behalf. And again, this is something that the U.S. Immigration Services, wanted. They didn't fucking believe that he's actually a real official. So let me read this to you. Written statement from an official of the sports governing body, which is who we were talking to. You may submit...
Oh, the sports governing... So they are trying to get in on like some kind of athlete visa or whatever, right?
Which is who we were talking to. You may submit evidence from an official of the sports governing body describing how the athlete or team is internationally recognized. The evidence you submitted is insufficient. You submitted a testimonial from, redacted, I'm not going to drop their name, about the beneficiaries
redacted, is a senior manager at Electronic Arts EA, but USCIS cannot determine that his position is considered an official of a governing body in esports. Additionally, he mentioned that the beneficiaries have had high placements in several competitions in the ALGS Year 3 season. However, USCIS cannot determine how the placements constitute as international reputation. As previously discussed, ALGS does not appear to require athletes or teams with international reputation to participate in the competitions. As such, there is insufficient evidence to demonstrate that having such placements in ALGS competitions equate to international reputation. You may still submit evidence to satisfy this criterion. I'm going to have a conniption.
Oh, I get whatever he says and whatever his lawyers say are going to be way out qualifying whatever I say. I'm just guessing here, but so it sounds like the type of visa that they're going for is how to qualify evidence submit for athlete visa. They're looking for like internationally recognized, like high level of recognition, like tournament or competitive or leagues that carry a high level of prestige or international recognition that you can say, look, my team participated here, they did well here, these are prestigious leagues, like let our people in for that. But my guess is going to be like in the esports world, that's probably pretty hard because what is the prestige if it's just like an online event, or what is the prestige of like a computer game tournament, depending on how old your agent is or how unlucky you got. Okay, the P1 visa is issued to athletes who are individuals or in a team to participate in various athletic programs in the U.S. and to promote themselves on their team and sport. Additionally, it is also designed for entertainers, whether they're individuals or in a group, to participate in various entertainment programs, competitions, or other activities. Entertainment groups could, for example, be the circus. Since there are two groups of people targeted by the P1 visas, it's divided into two visas. P1A visa is the visa for internationally recognized athletes or athletic team. That's probably the one that we're going for. P1B visa is the visa for individuals or members of an internationally recognized entertainment group. Common rules for these two types of visas are that if a team of athletes or group entertainment is applying, the team must have two or more members, easy. The group must have been formed at least 1 year ago, easy. All individual and group athletes and entertainers are nationally or internationally recognized to qualify for the P1A or P1B visa. They can go to the U.S. to compete for prize money or awards. Additionally, if there are staff members or essential personnel which are necessary, then they can obtain a P1 visa. Let's see. Since the P1 visa is an umbrella for the P1A and P1B, there are different requirements for them to be eligible. For the athletes applying for P1A visas, two of the following conditions must be fulfilled. Athletes must have participated in a major U.S. sports league, so not this one, right? They must have participated in a U.S. college, university, or intercollegiate sports league. They must have participated in a national or international level competition or event, probably this one. And they must have been nationally or internationally ranked in a high position, this probably. Or they must have obtained a national or international award for their excellence. Oof. Yeah, I feel like for esports, this is probably pretty fucking hard to ascertain. As for the P1B visa or internationally recognized entertainment, yeah. Filling the petition. You need an itinerary of events or performances with dates and durations for each event, contracts with U.S. sports leagues or teams, evidence of eligibility. Oh, okay. Does EA run the official, does EA run the actual tournaments that are coming to the U.S., like for the Apex shit? If so, I'm curious why that, what's the prize pool? I'm so curious why the senior manager at EA didn't qualify for this. Like his statement didn't allow them in. Eligibility criteria. The prize pool's in the millions. You must be coming to the United States to participate in a specific athletic competition in a sport in which you're internationally recognized. Does esports count for this? Can you get P1 visas esports? Does this happen right now? Internationally recognized. Qualify for P1 visa. Esports athletes must be part of a team. Okay, yeah, it seems like it. I guess, according to that. In the US, esports players are recognized as professional athletes. high level achievement of sport, demonstrate a degree of skill and recognition substantially above that ordinarily encountered. Your achievement must be renowned, leading, or well known in more than one country. The competitions you wish to participate in must have a distinguished reputation and be in an internationally recognized level of performance, such that it requires the participation of an internationally recognized athlete. Damn. Okay.
Excuse me. Still playing with cash registers, huh, Squiddy? What kind of place is this? You wanted us to prove that our placements were real, and we had a high-ranking EA, who, of course, they own Apex, represents that side, talk on our behalf to confirm that the placements are real. But you don't believe that that official, whom you even cite their position in this statement, actually represents them, is actually part of the official governing body of the esport? How can you not believe them? You even cite their position in your statement.
If it's just a random EA manager person, rather than like, does EA have like an official esports position with like an official esports senior manager? Did they have that specific of a title, or was it just an EA senior manager? This is like getting into such levels of pedantry. But I mean, like, damn, that sucks. What did he say?
I wouldn't care. I'd be like, oh, okay, you need more papers, more documents, more clarification. Those, fucking to look in and important majors in the world champ. This must be a fucking lie. Fly yourself out to the next fucking stand stupid. I absolutely believe that our is so outrageously. We were instructed to have a high-ranking EA official kind of glaze us to help convey to the U.S. Immigration Services that our team is internationally significant to this scene. Now, when it comes to getting teams over here, this is what every esports org has to do. They have to convince the immigration services that their team is highly competitive, a top team that is worthy to come over here and start bleeding cheeseburgers like a true red-blooded American. So that's what we're doing, and we had a high-ranking EA individual kind of talking on our behalf. And
it wasn't like, I don't know if EA has like an official esports division in the company. So this was just a guy working. It was just a guy working for EA. So it probably comes down to how lucky or unlucky you get with your particular agent, right?
Yeah, and this is something that
Wait, Todd Citron is SVP and General Manager for EA's competitive gaming division. Do you think he might be being vague here because he doesn't want to out particularly who their contact was, maybe?
U.S. Immigration Services wanted. They didn't fucking believe that he's actually a real official. So let me read this to you. Written statement from an official of the sports governing body, which is who we were talking to. You may submit evidence from an official of the sports governing body describing how the athlete or team is internationally recognized. The evidence you submitted is insufficient. You submitted a testimonial from, redacted, I'm not going to drop their name, about the beneficiaries, redacted, is a senior manager at Electronic Arts EA. But USCIS cannot determine that his position is considered an official of a governing body in esports. Additionally, he mentioned that the beneficiaries have had high placements in several competitions in the ALGS Year 3 season. However, USCIS cannot determine how the placements constitute as international reputation. As previously discussed, ALGS does not appear to require athletes or teams with international reputation to participate in the competition.
Oh, maybe they just didn't like the thing. Fuck this. Bro, I would hate doing this process. My God.
Silly. It has to be malicious. It has to be malicious. No one can be this stupid on accident and have this job. Again, this is a job that is extremely important, and you have someone this incompetent there? I don't believe it. This has to...
Do you think it's a different agent every time, or does a specific person run their file? I'm pretty sure once you have a case, I think a specific USCIS agent is assigned to that case. It doesn't change hands unless it goes through like a different process or it gets transferred to something else, is my understanding.
To be on purpose. Not only have we been working with lawyers who specialize in this area, but we have been working with other orgs who have successfully gone through this process, albeit it seems they've done it with other individuals. Not this fucking womp from Super Mario 64 that we've unfortunately been cursed with over there at the U.S. Immigration Office. This is craziness. How one person can just say, I just don't really feel like bothering to look into this at all, so I'm just going to say you're lying. I'll ask for more evidence and then not read it, and fuck you.
Did you ever have problems at customs with Molina? Yeah, a couple times. A lot of people that come to hang out from other countries have problems getting to the U.S. sometimes. It's just, U.S. immigration is just, it's way tougher. Even if you're like just traveling here to visit, it's way tougher than any country in Europe, and maybe in Asia and India and everything else, or Africa and South America. I don't know about all the other continents, but for Europeans that I know that have come to the United States, it seems like getting in and out of the United States is harder than any other European country. Schengen travel zone or not, it's just obnoxious as fuck. Michael Knowles debates Pearl Davis. Men should bow out.
Divorce rates among Orthodox Jews, 30, there's a lot of different kinds of Jews, but it goes down to as low as 10. And then you get down to a little more of the old school Catholics, which is kind of how I practice. There aren't great numbers on it.
Do you go to Latin Mass?
Traditional Latin Mass.
Okay.
The like.
Yeah. That's a lot of patience.
But frankly, I find it...
No, it's good. It's good. Latin Mass is a little better.
It seems like it goes faster than the shorter...
No, it's a little bit better than the Latin Mass. I'd agree.
But when it comes to divorce, the numbers are a little sparse here. It's like 5 to maybe...
Why is a Latin Mass better than a normal one? Wait, what?
Muslims even a little lower, 30%.
Okay.
Divorce rates among Orthodox Jews, 30 as low. There's a lot of different kinds of Jews, but it goes down to as low as 10. And then you get down to a little more of the old school Catholics, which is kind of how I practice. There aren't great numbers on
Like, do you go to Latin Mass?
traditional Latin Mass,
Okay.
the like.
Yeah. That's a lot of patience.
It's but frankly, I find it.
No, it's good. It's good. Latin Mass is a little better.
It seems like it goes faster than the shorter.
No, it's a little bit better in the Latin Mass. I'd agree.
But when it comes to divorce, the numbers are a little sparse here. It's like 5 to maybe 10%.
But
So
the problem is with most of those stats, most of those studies were done before social media. Anyone that dated before and after social media knows it completely changed the game.
How do you mean?
Well, women now have access to men anywhere. And cheating and goes out, like dating, the number one way people are meeting under 30 is dating apps.
No.
I mean, this is a completely different dating marketplace than when you were dating.
No, I guess
and that's my point.
when I was dating,
there's no Catholic woman in divorce court. Women will throw out their religion very, very fast when they want to leave. You cannot pray a woman that wants to leave you into not leaving you.
I think you don't the statistics I just cited show that you can?
No, but the problem with those is they include women over a certain age. The women under the age of 35
You're saying
have been on. Yes, it's completely different.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I think you can't really deny it with what you've seen. You go on whatever podcast. Are those the same women of our grandmothers and great grandmothers?
If you go on these podcasts that intentionally search for OnlyFans girls,
No, it's completely different.
There's not a ton of Orthodox Jews and traditional Catholics on that podcast, but
True.
perhaps there's a reason for that.
And if you got to ask like the reputation. What's the reputation of Catholic girls?
Well, what do you mean? I mean, again,
what, like online? Like in the meme circles?
That's my point.
The point is memes? The point is we appeal to memes?
My point is they have. If there was an abundance of wives in church, Michael, the men would be lining up to go.
But they do at the traditional churches.
Men are leaving the church. Under the age of 35, young men, church participation is going down altogether, but young men are leaving the church.
What about the traditional parishes?
The traditional parishes.
They're exploding, and it's all young people. I mean, the median age is like 22 in these parishes. And it's largely young men. So I totally grant you that a lot of modern religion has become quite effeminate and has driven men away.
Right, but I'm saying the Catholic Church is not exempt. It's absolutely not exempt. I've seen a lot of the same trends in the Catholic Church.
I guess my confusion is, though, you bring up these statistics, and so then we acknowledge the statistics that show that if one gets married, assuming that divorce is not a sacramental.
Cringe.
She initiated the divorce and legal documents. She initiated the divorce and legal documents.
I think she's entitled to nothing during this.
Just as a quick thing, okay. Oh, please trigger me. Okay. There's like several layers to how dumb this comment was, okay?
She initiated the divorce and legal documents.
Anybody can initiate a divorce, regardless. Even if one side wants to begin divorce proceedings, the other side could initiate it. Initiating is just, when you're filling out the paperwork, it's who the petitioner is and who the respondent is. It doesn't matter. A divorce is always going to have the same two parties involved, husband and wife. It doesn't matter who the petitioner is. It doesn't matter who initiates it. It doesn't matter, okay? Number one. Number two, just because somebody wants to do the divorce doesn't even necessarily mean it's their fault. I like how people will go to like, oh, well, whoever initiated the divorce is the one who wants the divorce or the one who caused the divorce. Like, that's a really reductive way to look at things, right? Let's say that I have a wife and I start myself all day because I'm bored and I start throwing it all over the apartment because why the f***, and then my wife divorces me, right? Is that her initiating divorce because she just wants to leave the marriage and she's abandoning her husband and abandoning the sanctity of marriage? Or is it my fault for spraying shit over it? Like, it's such a weirdly reductive way to view relationships. I don't understand this, like, well, who initiated, blah, blah. Like, relationships take two people. She says dumb things confidently, but then immediately backtracks when pressed. Yeah, because that's how much dumb shit she can get away with. That's how it goes. Like, this is such a dumb...
I think she's entitled to nothing during these proceedings. And I think the problem is no-fault divorce. And I think we're not dealing with a traditional at-fault divorce. We're dealing with irreconcilable differences. And I think the real answer should have been that when problems arose, a judge told them both, STFU, you are in a marriage. It is a sacred covenant.
Bro, you're giving me financial benefits and there are financial things relating to this? No, fuck you. A judge isn't going to tell me to stay in a relationship or not. What the fuck? Why the fuck would you ever want the state involved in forcing you to date somebody or be together with somebody that you don't want to be with? What, like, how is this a good idea? Like,
you are in a marriage. It is a sacred covenant. You will not do X, Y, and Z. The problem I have with this is marriage has become dating. It's dating with like strings attached in the financial world after the fact. No. Don't get married if you don't want to get married, okay? If you don't want to get into a position where you have to file for a divorce and hire lawyers for these reasons, then don't get married at all. And so the issue is not so much like in this argument I'm making, it's not to do with Hillary or Stephen.
Well, Spitmeister, thanks for the 5 subs. True. Just don't start a relationship forever if you don't know it's going to last forever. I mean, how the fuck do you know that going into it? I doubt either of the Crowders thought they were going to get divorced.
Specifically, it's about the fact that we live in this world where people get married and then go, you know what? It was a mistake. Let's sever ties. You pay me. No, okay, hold on. This whole thing is broken.
Hold on. Do you think that's what Hillary thought? Do they already have 2 kids and then she had twins on the way? Do you think she was just like, nah, I can probably get on Tinder and fuck Chad's dick. Why would I stay with Steve? Like, do you really think it was easy for her to walk away from that relationship?
The whole thing is broken. The other point, you know, so like Lauren Southern responded to me saying, or she responded in general to many people. So what? Hillary gives up her job for Stephen, but now that they're getting a divorce, she has no money. And I'm like, even if she kept her job, she would never have anywhere near as much money as Steven Crowder has. Like, so I don't appreciate this argument that
doesn't matter. Wait, what?
Anywhere near as much money as Steven Crowder has. She kept her job. She would never have anywhere near as much money as Steven Crowder has.
Yeah, but Steven Crowder wouldn't have been able to build his business if he didn't have somebody willing to watch the children and take care of the house at home.
Like, so I don't appreciate this argument that Crowder, as a wealthy man, pays her $25K a month. If Steven Crowder was worth...
That $25K a month is a fantastic, like, it's fake. That's fake, figure is fake. This just came out of nowhere. She got $25,000 basically sent to her from Crowder's business to pay for, like, divorce stuff, which is, it's their money, of course. That's how divorce works. But this idea that she's getting like $25,000 a month or some bullshit, that's just not true. That's that he completely invented this fact and he just runs with it. I don't know why.
Nothing and had no job, we wouldn't be having this argument. So it's not an issue of whether she's entitled to as a woman and give up her job. It's an issue of Steven has money, therefore they think he should pay.
No. It's because they're married, and once you're married, whatever either of you are working on, you're both working on it because you're a team. You're now like financially, legally, whatever, like unioned. Like that's how it works. You're both acquiring whatever it is you're acquiring. Nobody's working alone here. You're only working because your significant other enables you to do so.
So there's an interesting phenomenon here that for some reason has emerged in this particular case where you're seeing a lot of these traditional conservatives actually come out as full-on feminist as soon as it comes to the issue of divorce.
I don't think it's feminist at all. If you want,
but it literally
if you
is.
want to incentivize traditional marriage, like you can't like put one party in a position where they get totally like ripped off in case of a divorce.
You're correct, and the response is to...
Okay. This is true. And Tim is about to give the smart response, which I'll agree with. You shouldn't be able to just leave the relationship and get fucked over if you're the guy and lose all the money. And the solution is husband and wife should just have separate bank accounts, and then the husband just pays the wife for upkeep and all the other work that she would otherwise be doing for free. Super easy. So if you're a guy and you run a business, and if you want your wife to be able to divorce you, but not take any of your assets, then you just pay her for fair work, for cooking meals, watching kids 24/7, being an incubator for babies, cleaning the house. If you want to pay that wage or whatever you think that would be fair, you guys can negotiate what you think that wage should be, then fine, sure.
The feminist response is to say that all these women need to like store away money in case of a divorce.
No, it isn't.
Like in order to pay for it. Like
the traditional response to how you fix marriage is divorce is not allowed.
Okay.
Like, what is this statement? It's like unhinged.
But
there's rare circumstances where like a guy is threatening to murder and beating his wife and his kids, and infidelity is one of these things. These are people who I don't think those accusations are on the table. They're mostly just angry with each other and yelling at each other, and they're not getting along. That's where a judge comes in and says, you are grown adults. You will behave appropriately. You have children. Those children need functioning parents. You will treat this relationship.
You think parents that are fighting all the time like this are functioning? This is so cringe.
Properly, get therapy, and at the very least, if you don't like being around each other, you will be professional. And you chose this covenant. We now as a society, this is why it is absolutely a feminist position to say we should allow for divorce over irreconcilable differences.
But like, what are you advocating for? For them to like live in the same house when they don't like each other? Like,
yes,
that's crazy.
I think that then don't get married. Don't get married. This is what I'm saying. You don't have to get married. Nobody made them do it. They said, let's get married. And then 10 years later, they're like, I'm having fun, I quit.
So in your like theory of...
That's it. Like, oh yeah, LOL, I'm having fun, I quit. Like, I just want to walk away because it's LOL, right? It's like such a retarded fucking... It's like a childlike view of relationships and divorce.
Let's get married, and then 10 years later, they're like, I'm having fun, I quit.
So in your like theory of like how this should work, like, so you should be able to theoretically, using an example very like not related to this at all, like, you know, let's say you're a media personality and you move out, buy a townhouse, and then you cut your wife off financially. Like, you should be able to do that. There should be no court redress for that. That's what happened in this case. So no, as long as you don't get divorced, though.
No, the judge will say, stop. You are married. STFU. You will both be in this house. You will raise your kids. You will stop fighting. And you will get therapy. If you don't want to get married, don't.
Wasn't this guy supposed to be the libertarian guy?
Get married.
You just said that you don't trust judges in the way that they handle people with money versus no money, and now you're like, the
Totally
judge
separate
needs to
argument.
assess whether or not you should live in the same house?
That's completely irrelevant to the point that I'm making. Okay, so let's talk about if you don't want to get married, you don't get married. Instead, the progressive, feminist, and liberal response has been, let's weaken the institution of marriage. And I'm like, whoa, leave marriage as it is. People just don't have to get married. People need to understand. And part of me, I'm kind of glad we're seeing all this. Because when you see the shocking reality of divorce, many people realize like, uh-oh, there's a problem here. Maybe I shouldn't get married. Maybe you shouldn't. If you get married and you swear an oath till death do us part, I do not believe you should be allowed to get divorced unless except in extreme
Is he
circumstances.
like Catholic now? I don't understand how he got so...
Like traditionally what it used to be was infidelity, abuse, criminal activity, things like this. With the issue with the Crowders, yes, I very much believe a family court judge should say, the problem here is two people who don't get along. Be adults, grow up, shut your mouths, do not fight in front of the kids.
This is wild, bro.
That's it.
Okay, so let me, because, I mean, like, that's like an ideal, like, perception of what should be, but, like, let's say that meets your parameters for something that you can get divorced over, okay? But you have a traditional...
Like abuse and stuff.
Yeah. Well, like, not this case, but, like, let's say a theoretical
his
case.
wife.
Yeah, something like that. So... in that particular case, like, let's say one of the people is same situation and makes all the income, the other person gave up their job 10 years ago. Like, should they be able to run up the cost and, like, when the other person can't afford an attorney, be frozen out of the estate, even though that estate in Texas law
It's not a singular scenario. In the instance of, say, abuse, a woman shows up to the police covered in blood with teeth missing, and then they go, okay, we're arresting
Oh, a
the
lot
guy.
of
That guy's not
times
working.
But I'm saying if you eventually
weaponizing.
file for divorce in that kind of situation,
Oh, there's a woman here? Strange. She's been quiet the entire time.
like, how should the attorneys be paid for?
In a situation of like a woman is being mercilessly beaten.
Yeah, like an abuse situation that meets your criteria for divorce, right?
I think perhaps then yes, the estate itself would be used to fund the proceedings for both sides, like Texas law says.
If you have, one person who can't pay or whatever, or like, I'm talking about during proceedings.
The family is a dual income, like they file jointly, they're married or whatever. Then it should be that the divorce lawyers are paid. Now, I think the issue there is you don't really have the same kind of divorce law when you have evidence of clear violations of fault in a divorce. Now, that being said, infidelity is where things do get particularly troubling. And I know a lot of people then say, Tim, the problem here is women will fabricate or men will fabricate. They'll accuse each other of infidelity. And I'm like, yeah, bad people do bad things. How about you don't get married?
Well, I think
It's not like you know that before you get married, though, if the person's going to do bad things, right?
reason you got so much pushback is because like the practical reality is that a lot of people on the right are pushing for a more traditional like stay-at-home like kind of marriage situation. Now I'm getting married, but my fiance is gonna make pretty good money. Like she's currently working on her career and all that. But like I would expect if I got her to stay at home, if like we were to get divorced, that I wouldn't be able to drown her in legal costs in like half your states or whatever.
But what if you were poor?
Well, first of all, if you're poor,
if you were poor,
yeah, same thing. If I didn't have the money to cover it, and like we're married, from our joint estate,
yeah. My problem is no fault divorce. It's not that Crowder has to pay. It's that it's no fault divorce. Like getting divorced for we're fighting a lot.
But I'm saying this is why you're getting pushback. It's like the misstatement of the 25K, which to be fair, that was put out intentionally, I believe, by Louder Crowder to make it seem like it's greedy Hillary. That was their narrative. And then it's the idea that like, yeah, the traditional housewife gets totally screwed under your scenario
But why is
if
it
there
unfair?
is a divorce.
Why is it unfair?
Yes, true. Oh, no response to that? Good job, AJ. That is true. Marriage is like a protection for the woman, basically, or the non-working spouse, I should say. Marriage is a protection for the spouse that's basically foregoing their entire career and their entire livelihood to invest in a relationship. In the event that that relationship fails, you don't want them to be completely and totally fucked. Remember that it's definitely not me, Clip. I think we'll watch this tomorrow. Debating the value of Eastern medicine.
Right, which is nonsense.
No, of
But
course.
I do think it's crazy that I'm about to be 34 and I have no family. Because my dad had 2 kids by the time he was 27.
Yep.
And I'm like, man, you know what the problem is, though? It's definitely not me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's everybody else.
Yeah.
So, like, when it comes to the women that I've been in relationships with, so one relationship I was in was a woman had a career. And so we never saw each other. And she's like, I'm not giving up my career. I'm like, well, I'm certainly not.
Yep.
And then some other women are like, I want to go adventure and do my thing. And I'm like, I'm all about freedom and liberty, so you do your thing, I guess. And the only option I really have is to be like, no, you must be the wife. And like, that's not me.
Yep, exactly.
So I haven't found.
So you gotta find somebody who wants to, start a family and be maybe a stay-at-home mother.
But here's the challenge with that. My perspective, personality, what I find attractive are all based on liberal urban sensibilities.
Yep.
And so most of the women in that space are going to be fiercely independent careerists and not necessarily compatible. So over the past several years, I've been increasingly successful. I have no problem and no concerns about starting a family whenever I need to. But most of the women that I have been with are like, can't career.
Yep.
And so there have been some who are like nearly.
I don't understand what this means. Like, is he saying like, I want to find a woman who I find attractive in every single regard because she's like independent, fierce, career driven, but then once she meets me, she wants to give all of that up? Is that
40? And I'm like,
Yeah, get up there a little bit.
that's no offense. I'm
Yeah.
just saying like,
40-year-old women are lovely. Okay.
well, the issue isn't them being 40. It's the difference in my age to their age and where I am in my life. And the same is true with younger women too. So I could certainly find like a younger woman who's like, I just want to, and I'm like, but we're just
And
not.
you know, I mean, there's biology that comes into play too. There, if you're looking to start a family and you know she's already in her 40s, then there could be some trouble and that could be hard, and that might not fit your what you want in your life.
Yep.
You know, and that's entirely true. That's biology, and I say this. I'm in my 30s. I'm getting there, so you know, it's understandable and
Yep.
it's okay.
I think we're doomed. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast.
I don't know. Okay, tomorrow we'll go over this. Is this the Twitter person you thought wasn't real? Is that the is she called libertarian? The libertarian conservative person that I thought wasn't real?